Principles of Anatomy and Physiology, 12th edition, Chapter 2, Study Outline, Study Guide. How matter is organized. All forms of matter are composed of chemical elements. Oxygen, carbon, hydrogen, and nitrogen make up about 96% of body mass. Each element is made up of small units called atoms. Atoms consist of a nucleus, which contain protons and neutrons, plus electrons that move about the nucleus in regions called electron shells. The number of protons, the atomic number, distinguishes the atoms of one element from those of another element. The mass number of an atom is the sum of its protons and neutrons. Different atoms of an element that have the same number of protons but different numbers of neutrons are called isotopes. Radioactive isotopes are unstable and decay. The atomic mass of an element is the average mass of all naturally occurring isotopes of that element. An atom that gives up or gains electrons becomes an ion. An atom that has a positive or negative charge because it has unequal number of protons and electrons. Positively charged ions are cations, negatively charged ions are anions. To repeat that, an atom that gives up or gains electrons becomes an ion. An atom that has a positive or negative charge because it has unequal numbers of protons and electrons. That's one continual sentence. There's a hyphen in there, which confuses it a little bit, but let me see if I can make that one continual statement that's easy to understand. An atom that gives up or gains electrons becomes an ion. That is, an atom that has a positive or negative charge because it has unequal numbers of protons and electrons. Positively charged ions are called cations, and negatively charged ions are anions. If two atoms share electrons, a molecule is formed. Compounds contain atoms of two or more elements. A free radical is an electrically charged atom or group of atoms with an unpaired electron in its outermost shell. A common example is superoxide, which is formed by the addition of an electron to an oxygen molecule. Chemical bonds. Forces of attraction called chemical bonds hold atoms together. These bonds result from gaining, losing, or sharing electrons in the valence shell. Most atoms become stable when they have an octet of 8 electrons in their valence, the outermost electron shell. When the force of attraction between ions of opposite charge holds them together, an ionic bond has formed. In a covalent bond, atoms share pairs of valence electrons. Covalent bonding may be single, double, or triple in either nonpolar or polar. An atom of hydrogen that forms a polar covalent bond with an oxygen atom or a nitrogen atom may also form a weaker bond called a hydrogen bond with an electronegative atom. The polar covalent bond causes the hydrogen atom to have a partial positive charge, delta plus, that attracts the partial negative charge, delta minus, of neighboring electronegative atoms, often oxygen or nitrogen. Chemical reactions. When atoms combine with or break apart from other atoms, a chemical reaction occurs. The starting substances are the reactants and the ending ones are the products. Energy, the capacity to do work, is of two principal kinds: potential, which is stored energy, and kinetic energy, which is the energy of motion. Endergonic reactions require energy. Exergonic reactions release energy. ATP couples exergonic and endergonic reactions. Repeat. Endergonic. Endergonic reactions require energy. Exergonic reactions release energy. ATP couples endergonic and exergonic reactions. The initial energy investment needed to start a reaction is the activation energy. Reactions are more likely when the concentration and temperatures of reacting particles are higher. Catalysts accelerate chemical reactions by lowering the activation energy. Most catalysts in living organisms are protein molecules called enzymes. Synthesis reactions involves the combination of reactants to produce larger molecules. The reactions are anabolic and usually endergonic. In decomposition reactions, a substance is broken down into smaller molecules. The reactions are catabolic and usually exergonic. Exchange reactions involve the replacement of one atom or atoms by another atom or atoms. In reversible reactions, end products can revert to the original reactants. Inorganic compounds usually are small and usually lack carbon. Organic substances always contain carbon, usually contain hydrogen, or always have covalent bonds. Water is the most abundant substance in the body. It is an excellent solvent and suspending medium. Participates in hydrolysis and dehydration synthesis reactions, and serves as a lubricant. Because of its many hydrogen bonds, water molecules are cohesive, which cause a high surface tension. Water also has a high capacity for absorbing heat and a high heat of vaporization. Inorganic acids, bases, and salts dissociate into ions in water. An acid ionizes into hydrogen ions, H+, in anions, and in a proton is a proton donor. Many bases ionize into cations and hydroxide ions, and all are proton acceptors. A salt ionizes into neither hydrogen nor hydroxide. Again, inorganic acids, bases, and salts dissociate into ions in water. An acid ionizes into hydrogen ions and anions in a proton donor and is a proton donor. Repeat, an acid ionizes into hydrogen ions and anions and is a proton donor. Many bases ionize into cations and hydroxide ions, and all are proton acceptors. A salt ionizes into neither hydrogen nor a hydroxide. Mixtures are combinations of elements or compounds that are physically blended together but are not bound by chemical bonds. Solutions, colloids, and suspensions are mixes with different properties. Two ways to express the concentration of a solution are percentages, mass per volume, expressed in grams per 100 milliliters of a solution, and moles per liter. A mole, abbreviated MOL, is the amount in grams of any substance that has a mass equal to the combined atomic mass of all of its atoms. Once again, a mole is the amount in grams of any substance that has a mass equal to the combined atomic mass of all of its atoms. The pH of body fluids must remain fairly constant for the body to maintain homeostasis. On the pH scale, 7 represents neutrality. Values below 7 indicate acidic solutions, and values above 7 indicate alkaline solutions. Normal blood pH is 7.3 to 7.45. Buffer systems remove or add protons, hydrogen, to help maintain pH homeostasis. One important buffer system is the carbonic acid bicarbonate buffer system. The bicarbonate ion, HCO3, acts as a weak base and removes excess hydrogen, and carbonic acid acts as a weak acid and adds hydrogen. Organic compounds. Carbon with its 4 valence electrons bond covalently with other carbon atoms to form large molecules of many different shapes. Attached to the carbon skeleton of organic molecules are functional groups that confer distinctive chemical properties. Small organic molecules are joined together to form large molecules by heat dehydration synthesis reactions in which a molecule of water is removed. In the reverse process called hydrolysis, large molecules are broken down into smaller ones by the addition of water. Carbohydrates provide most of the chemical energy needed to generate ATP. They may be monosaccharides, disaccharides, or polysaccharides. Lipids are a diverse group of compounds that include fatty acids, triglycerides, fats, and oils. Phospholipids, steroids, and eicosanoids. Triglycerides protect, insulate, provide energy, and are stored. Phospholipids are important cell membrane components. Steroids are important in cell membrane structure, regulating sexual function, maintaining normal blood sugar level, aiding lipid digestion and absorption, and helping bone growth. Eicosanoids, prostaglandins, and leukotrienes modify hormone responses, contribute to inflammation, dilate airways, and regulate body temperature. Proteins are constructed from amino acids. They give structure to the body, regulate processes, provide protection, help muscles contract, transport substances, and serve as enzymes. Levels of structural organization among proteins include primary, secondary, tertiary, and sometimes quaternary. Variations in protein structure and shape are related to their diverse functions. Once again, levels of structural organization among proteins include primary, secondary, tertiary, and sometimes quaternary. Variations in protein structure and shape are related to their diverse functions. Deoxyribose nucleic acid, or DNA, and ribonucleic acid, RNA, are nucleic acids consisting of nitrogenous bases, 5 carbons, pentose, sugars, and phosphate groups. DNA is a double helix and is a primary chemical in genes. RNA takes part in protein synthesis. Adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, is the principal energy transferring molecule in living systems. Once again, adenosine triphosphate, ATP, is the principal energy transferring molecule in living systems. When it transfers energy to an endergonic reaction, it is decomposed to adenosine diphosphate, or ADP, in a phosphate group. ATP is synthesized from ADP in a phosphate group using the energy supplied by various decomposition reactions, particularly those of glucose. Once again, ATP is synthesized from ADP and a phosphate group using the energy supplied by various decomposition reactions, particularly those of glucose. This concludes the Chapter 2 study guide.